Welcome to Fraud Friday, Chris Ruglieri, Dog Days of Summer Edition. Lance, you are the car expert. You've liquidated a lot of cars. I'm on a pop quiz. Lance, how many of these cars have you liquidated? First of all, I can't even pronounce these. I know what a Ferrari is. I have no idea what a 2019 G63 AMG is.
It's a whole lot of numbers and letters to me.
Yeah. Bob, I would love the opportunity to liquidate this set of 4 cars, but I'm going to have to take possession and inspect and maybe drive. But no, I've never had anything like this. I get Volkswagen Jettas, box trucks, things like that.
Well, what I think is really cool, what is cool is for the Saratoga Automobile Museum, the trustee in Chris Ruglieri's bankruptcy, they have seized these cars. He's had an extensive collection of well over 10, 15 cars. The pictures are there, and very high-end cars, very high performance. And the museum is going to be able to do the auction and retain 10% of the proceeds, which is great. I think this is a great format to liquidate those as opposed to a government backlot type of auction. And this is a great way to recoup funds on Chris Ruglieri's loan fraud scheme of approaching $100 million. Delaney, bring us up to date where we are. He's currently sitting in jail. And when is the auction? If you want to buy one of these cars, what do we have to do?
So the auction is in about a month. It's some of the steps, check in, office hours, a preview of all the different cars beyond just Chris Ruglieri's cars. That starts September 18th. And the checkout will be on September 22nd. You see these cars here. The first 3 are Mercedes-Benz. The last one is a 2014 Novatec Ferrari F12 in Largo. Seems to be a pretty good option. One of only
11 in the world. You got to love that. Yeah.
So there's one more car. I don't have any details about what kind of car it is. They're estimating it's going to be worth about $1.5 million, though. I imagine that 2014 Novatec Ferrari may do pretty well on its own.
Very good. Wow. Do we know if this is going to be live streamed? If it is, we'll carry it. I would certainly hope so. Delaney, that's your homework assignment. You got a month to figure it out, all right?
Well, another important fact here, guys, is the way they're selling these cars do meet the SBA servicing requirements. If this were a SBA liquidation case, they have a public auction of the cars, which is what SBA would require.
Yeah, I think, and I think this is a great way to generate publicity and to generate the maximum amount of recovery they can get for the claimants on his personal bankruptcy.
Now, I have to tell you guys, back in 2009, when I was working with FDIC, I had a tanning salon that we repossessed all the tanning beds. I bet I didn't generate as much activity at that auction as they're going to generate for these amazing cars that he had. I had 3 bidders.
And I'm sure that's an important part to the story.
It is.
All right, Lance, I'm going to go down the rabbit hole. How much, you brought it up, how much did you recover in those repossessed tanning beds?
Well, it was a total of $85,000 new, the tanning beds.
Okay.
And the winning bidder bought those tanning beds for $12,000.
Okay, I withdraw my cackle. And good for you.
Well, I'll keep track of this along with what they do with all the other cars, the art, the watches. They said they wanted to do several different auctions of various sorts, so I will make sure to keep track.
I'm going to turn on a more serious note. He is in jail, and this is the serious side of the story. Ruglieri's attorneys tried to get him out, and the judge said, it ain't going to happen. The judge was very clear that he feels Chris's actions are egregious and that there is a no bail hold on him, and he's going to sit in that jail until trial. Tell us about the sordid details, Delaney.
Well, starting back with the government's opposition to the defense's request for a new detention hearing. Of course, they opposed. They said that the only true or truly new information available to the court reinforces the reasons for why detention is required, but otherwise they did not present any new information. Now, what the defense brought was a lot of different letters from family members, one of his previous attorneys, current girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, and whatnot. But the government said, well, this isn't new information. You could have brought this at the initial detention hearing. Along with that, there were some other things they said. I always enjoy reading legal documents because of the way they word some things. I will read this quote directly. Even looking beyond the staleness of the defense's newly tendered information, the motion should be denied on the independent basis that this information does not have a material bearing on the court's prior decision. Some of their other points, the defense tried to argue that this was affecting their communication between his attorney and him, but they said that they provided no specific details about how Ruggieri's right to counsel has been unreasonably hindered by his pretrial detention, and instead the defense used inappropriate sources to back up their claims.
Yeah, the government cited Chris's own words, where, quote, the government pointed to chilling text messages in which the defendant, Chris, said he would whack and seek vengeance against officials and attorneys involved in the various legal proceedings. The judge did not take kindly to that, and the judge specifically said, there are 3 FBI agents. Chris knew their names, and he knew the address of one, and in Chris's defense, or an attempted defense, the attorney said he was in a dark place, and he certainly didn't mean what he said. But words are words, Lance, and words matter.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they do. And this is such an incredible case. I was talking to Delaney about it before the show. You have a guy that was at the pinnacle.
Yes.
You know, he was doing well in business, and he's fell off that pinnacle pretty significantly. Well, he's felt it all the way down. It's crazy to me how sometimes in these fraud cases and these cases similar to this, not just this, but PPP fraud, where people will make a decision to go down a path that basically eliminates their entire professional career
and personal relationships. He's in jail right now, and he's facing a long jail sentence.
Yeah,
it's you're right. We cover these stories, and it's sad, and you want to have a little bit of empathy, but Delaney, there are victims in this situation with what he's threatening.
Absolutely. In the court's denial, they said that there are no conditions or set of conditions which the court could set that would ensure his safety in the community, and they did point to text messages, various comments as well. I'll quote this directly as well. He actually named one of the agents and claimed that he would put a bullet in that agent's head. Yeah. So, I mean, it's understandable they wouldn't want him to be out and about.
And I know you're down in Arkansas, Lance, and you have Arkansas certainly has different laws about firearms than New York State does. But the judge said he has a history of owning a substantial number of firearms. And Delaney, he's up on state charges, correct? On
yes.
Bring me up to date on that. I'm not familiar as much as you are.
As far as the state charges with the 2 different weapon charges, I'm not sure about any updates, but those do still stand as far as I know.
Well, definitely a sad situation. We will be following up on this story. Delaney, you have your homework. We'll see what the live stream is. Lance, I'll give you the last word on this. Back to the auction. I am for what the trustee is doing. I assume.
When I sit and look at this, you know, there's a lot of meat to the bad things that Chris allegedly has done. But you make a great point earlier, Bob, when you talk about victims. What about these companies that put up $8 million deposits, $2 million deposits? You know, what happened to them? How did they survive handing over millions of dollars and not getting anything in return?
And we had an employee of Chris's on the show previously where they've lost their job. I mean, there's a lot of baggage that is being strewn across the landscape, and it's a sad situation. Chris personally, which, as I said, Lance and I know him. We've gone to Lance and I have both spoken at his conferences, as well as his employees, but also as well as the people who've wired him $5-8 million to his company. And again, Lance, you said allegedly, and the trustees looking for the money, but so far, Delaney, they haven't found that money, have they?
No, not yet.
Thank you for joining us today for Fraud Friday, so you can stop criminals from stealing from your bank.
Have a great weekend.